This episode contains discussions about suicide, self-harm and mental health struggles. Some listeners may find these topics distressing. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, please feel free to stop listening and take care of yourself. If you struggle or someone you know is struggling, support is available. In the UK, you can contact Samaritans on 116 123 for free, 24/7. If you are in immediate danger, please call 999.
Mental ill health has no boundaries.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about what's in your bank account. It doesn't care what car you drive. It doesn't care that you go and walk your dog twice a day. It doesn't care how fit you are in the gym. It doesn't care how much you speak, how quiet you are. It doesn't care about you being married with kids. It has no boundaries.
Hello there and welcome back to the Great in You podcast. My name's Steven Panter and as you know, for those of you that follow us, this podcast is about people that have experienced trauma or difficult challenges in their life, and as a result they now help others. Now we've had this guest in before, Payton, and unfortunately we had a technical issue, so we've had to invite Lee back in. And that's not unfortunate. It's great to see Lee again. But we had to invite Lee back in to finish the podcast. Obviously, you would have seen us before. You would have seen us probably wearing different things. So this is a separate part of the podcast. But Lee had so many great things to talk about, difficult and challenging things to talk about. But we just thought it was important that we got Lee to finish. I suppose the most important part of his story was the next steps and what happened next. So welcome back, Lee.
Thank you very much for having me again. By the way, for the third time, you've got to buy the coffee, I'm just saying. Yeah.
Well, great to have you back. I know in the last podcast we did talk in quite a lot of detail about what had happened, your experience. We got to the point where you were in the hospital.
Yep.
And we just started to talk about the nurse that you met,
Yes.
and kind of what happened and what that conversation happened and your relationship with that nurse and your experience of how she supported you in that process.
I really wish that I remembered the nurse's name. I can remember what she looks like. I can remember that she had long dark hair, but I can't remember her name. But what happened with the nurse is I was in critical care, in intensive care, come out of the coma. I was, shall we just say awake? I was going to say alive. I mean, I was alive, but I was awake. And compass mentis, is that the correct way of saying it? And it was late on, because I was in critical care, I had my own private room, and it was really late on in the evening. Forgive me, I can't tell you what day it was. I don't know, it was 11:30, 12 o'clock midnight, really late.
We talked, didn't we? I think, sorry, just to put a bit of a caveat in there, we talked last time, didn't we, about the event itself having quite a big effect on your memory.
Oh yeah,
and what you can recall and what you can. So this kind of it kind of connects to that, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I can't recall an awful lot. There is little bits of information. As time's gone on, a few more things have come back. But it's been really hard because of the brain trauma. When I've tried to think about it, so if I sat here now and thought about it, my brain kind of has just blocked it out. As a coping mechanism, as a trauma mechanism, I don't know what that is. I've been through neurology departments that I've tried to sort of combat that in a way. I don't know what the answer is to that. So these are fragment. It is all factual. This is true, but they are very, very, very fragmented. And even as we speak now, something else will sort of rewire itself. I go, oh yeah. I probably by the end of this podcast, I probably remember a name. Just as an example, that's what it's been like. But
we were talking, weren't we, about that happening and about kind of how that can happen, and actually you're still trying to piece all of this together.
Oh yeah,
yourself,
absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us about this we'll just say this wonderful nurse.
So this wonderful nurse come and got me 11:30 midnight, something like that. She disturbed me from my private room, which is absolutely fine, and she told me that I was being discharged from critical care and I was being put down onto another ward. So basically not a 24-hour service, not service, but 24-hour monitoring. So that was great news. That was fantastic news. They, obviously because I had a lot of machinery with me, kidney machines and things like that, there was a lot to sort of take.
Can I just ask as well, sorry again to interrupt
you. It's okay.
I'm just trying to ask the questions that maybe people out there might ask as well.
Yeah.
Was there a little bit of trepidation and fear with regards to you moving? Did you have a bit
for me?
For you? No? Did you see that as progress? You saw it as actually, I'm starting to get better? Because some people would have looked at it and gone, oh, I don't want to move from here. I feel safe. I feel...
Possibly.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay.
Because I just can't remember. So rather than guess, it would sound right. Yeah, absolutely would sound right. But I can't tell you for sure. All I remember is how nice this lady was.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that. So I was getting discharged or stepped down, shall we say, onto another ward.
Yeah.
But what happened was so in critical care you have like a private room. You have intensive care, which is a big ward, and then in critical care is a separate room. So they're the ones that you're monitored 24 hours a day. And as I come out of the ward, it's quite a narrow corridor in intensive care. As I was coming out of the ward, someone else was going back in. Now, I don't know. I know it was a male. I know it was a man. I couldn't tell you what he looked like because obviously he had all the machinery on it. I know they had a lot of machinery with him, so like life support machines and stuff like that. And because I could barely move, I remember just looking at who that was, and me being inquisitive, I asked the nurse, are they okay? What's going on? And she just uttered the words to me. This is the reason why I remember it so much is, you're not the first and you won't be the last. And at this point, I hadn't come to terms with the fact of why I was in there, that I took my whole life, but it was there. It was always there in my mind. I can't remember it. I hadn't come, what's the correct way of saying it? I hadn't come to terms with it, but it was there. I knew why it was there at this point. And them words of the first and not the last, that was what happened with this poor gentleman. In no uncertain terms, that's what it was. That's what she was saying, but obviously she couldn't say it because it was confidential. And to this day, I don't know if that man survived that. And I hope he did. I genuinely hope he did. Unfortunately,
was he in a critical condition then?
If he was going into the critical room, he was in a critical condition. Right. Yeah. If you're in intensive care, you're in a really bad place. But the critical care section of the NHS, that is where you get monitored minute by minute. So you have your own private nurse. You have the machine basically outside your door. That is the only place worse than that, unfortunately, is the morgue. And that's the simple fact.
And it's interesting, is it, because people wouldn't necessarily know that unless they'd experienced it.
No, I wouldn't have a clue. And the only reason I know so much about that section, it wasn't from a memory from there, but I've been invited back as part of an intensive care support program where they invite, basically when you come out of critical care, not a lot of people come out of critical care. So, and a lot of people have memories of critical care just because of how bad they are and how unwell they are. And I've been back, I think I've been back twice now, once with my brother and once on my own.
So was that to where you were? Warrington?
To intensive care, to see the actual room.
Wow.
To Warrington Hospital. They invite you back as part of the support package.
What was that like?
Incredible. I've gone goosey there.
Yeah.
I built up a picture, or people that told me built up a picture of what this room was like. So from the waiting room for where all my family were, to where my mum rushed off when I had a seizure to drop a cup of tea, it was nothing like I would have pictured it. It was inspiring, in all honesty. And unfortunately, so we had a walk around there. We get invited back by, forgive me who the support team is, but they're absolutely fantastic. And it's just a way of helping your brain to figure out what you were doing in there. Yeah. And there was someone in the critical care section. We don't get to see or anything, but I just remember the machinery behind him.
Yeah, but again, it's people wouldn't know that happened, would they?
No.
And all the rooms that you've been in your life, your whole life, that's probably the most significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apart from probably where you were born and that one.
I died in that room, and I survived and everything in that room. It was inspiring that day. I'm glad I did it. I would highly recommend it to anyone that's gone through that. It's just part of the process, I suppose, in a way. And I don't want to be disrespectful to the grieving. It is in a way of grieving something, in my own way. And again, meeting the nurses, meeting the people that were looking after me, I have no idea who they are. But the fact that I was walking in unaided, not in a wheelchair, considering what I'd been through, they were like, I'm a tall guy as well, so they obviously.
So they knew you were.
They knew exactly who I was. They knew me and they knew my brother, because obviously my brother was a big part of why I was there. He never left my side. They all knew exactly who we were. Hi Lee, hi Steven. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know who these are. Oh my God, look! Oh my gosh, look at you! You've done so well. You're walking. You're doing this. No, if it wasn't for my brother going with me,
What kind of feelings did you have going through that? Was it quite emotional?
It was emotional, yeah, but it wasn't sad.
No.
I can't say that I was upset. I was inspired. Yeah. I was amazed by what they did, and I also, unfortunately, there was a lot of other people in there. I mean, you don't get to see the people in there. You don't see that. The tour that they do is basically just a quick tour. I seen the room where I went to the resource department, the machine, where the heavy duty machines are that kept me alive. Yeah. Seen all of that before, and all of that again. Because obviously I had no memory of this because I was in a coma. Did
you have any trepidation about actually going to the hospital? Was that something you always wanted to do, or did you have mixed feelings about doing that?
I wanted to do it.
You wanted to?
Yeah, I think part of me, because I didn't know why, I still don't know why.
Yeah.
Whether I went there trying to expect to understand a bit more, I don't know.
Did you feel like compelled to do it? Did you feel like you had to?
Yeah, I had to. For my own, I think for my own mental health going on forward, my own memories, my own, everything about it, because I couldn't remember it. And obviously my family, now bear in mind, when I come out of there, I couldn't remember the day before. My memory was still really, really bad. So my family would reiterate everything over and over and over and over again. So I built up a picture in my head of what that place looked like. So I needed to. Sometimes you need to see it yourself, don't you, to give yourself maybe a bit of closure in a way. Although I don't think I'll ever close the door fully on that.
No.
But a little bit of just understanding, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah. Is your memory of that experience quite vivid then? Because I know you struggled with, but your memory of going back.
Oh, going back, yeah.
I can. So that's kind of filled some.
Yes, filled some gaps. Yeah, like I say, putting pieces back in the jigsaw.
Yeah.
When I first come out of hospital, it was like I was doing a 1,000-piece jigsaw, back to front.
Yeah.
All the pieces, just trying to put things together. Sometimes you put a corner together, you put other bits together. When I went out on intensive care, it was like I could see the picture.
Yeah.
Not all the pieces were there.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there, isn't there? There's, first of all, just going back to what you were saying about that gentleman, the fact that you were in a really vulnerable position, weren't you? Semi-critical at that point. The fact that you wanted to, you were really aware of this other person and you wanted to look out for him and find out how he was, I think says a lot about you, doesn't it, as a person? That you in that state, in that condition,
I genuinely believe
you were worried about others.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that everything that I'm doing now was inspired by that one moment.
Yeah.
If I can, it's hard to try and reflect on it because I'm still going through the journey.
Yeah.
But I mean, that and then the NDA that I had with my late father, that was the inspiration, because I'm like, I've survived.
Yeah.
I'll never know if that guy, I hope he did. I'll never know if that guy survived, because I'll never be able to find that out.
Yeah.
But in my heart, I hope he did. In my brain, trying to work out what I'm trying to do for everyone else, he didn't.
And what's weird, not weird, but what's, I suppose, when you reflect on it, you almost had a connection with that person,
absolutely,
without knowing them,
absolutely,
because you're in the same circumstance, aren't you? In a similar circumstance, anyway, from different ways of getting there, but you've got that connection, haven't you? And I suppose was that was probably quite pourful, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And the words from the nurse that she said, like, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. Just them few words, that sentence has just been a catalyst of everything really that I'm doing now, and I will continue to do. And
maybe that was the reason. Maybe
I again,
because that room could have been empty.
Yeah,
couldn't it?
Yeah. And going back to intensive care on the tour and seeing the critical care room where I was, there was someone in that room at the time. It could have been anything. It doesn't have to have been suicide. It could have been anything. Unfortunately, it could be extremely unwell. But I can't tell you for sure, but I know that I don't think she would have said that sentence if it wasn't another suicide.
Yeah.
And going forward from that, seeing things like with Andy's Man Club, like one man every 2 hours in the UK, it's now one man every 90 minutes. I didn't feel on my own.
No.
And going from being in intensive care to having all this, not having this memory of why I was there. What do you mean I've taken my whole life? What do you mean? Having that anger, fear, guilt, misunderstanding, but then reliving it every 20 minutes, then every hour, then every day, consistently, because I just couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. even though, like I was speaking to you now when we were talking about it, basically in another 20 minutes I'd forget completely about this conversation and redo it all over again with my family. And more importantly, my brother, he was always by my side.
So I wanted to. We'll talk about your discharge from hospital in a sec.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, isn't it? And what you had to experience. You've just touched on it a little bit there around your memory and what you had to recall and how you had to build it from something very small to what it is today. Just to say, I think, thinking about your story and listening to it, I can almost, people that are watching this will almost be able to visualise you being in that space and you being in that. But I think you actually going back to that, you probably don't, I don't know what you think about this. I know you said that you felt kind of compelled to do it, but I think there's a certain element of kind of bravery there, of going back into somewhere where you were really vulnerable. And I don't know if you've reflected in that sense and see it like that, but I think outsiders would look at that and think, wow, there'll be some people that wouldn't want to do that because it was too traumatic or too, but I suppose for you it was a little bit different, wasn't it? For trying to almost recall and
yeah.
But I personally would see that as quite brave. I don't know what you...
I'll be really honest, I've never thought about that. Now you've said it. It was.
Yeah.
I didn't do it to be brave.
No.
I didn't go back in there, and I would go back in there tomorrow. I did it to understand.
Yeah.
Because I have no memory of the suicidal ideation of that spiral of whatever you want to call it. I think it was more of a. I needed to know. I needed to know why. It still hasn't given me any inclination of why, but it helped me in the recovery process afterwards.
Yeah.
It helped me of not reliving the guilt of every single day, of the fear, of the why, of the what, of the how, of the what have I done, of who I've done it to.
Yeah.
It was part of the process of doing that. But I do, from an outsider's point of view, being brave, yeah, you're possibly right.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that. I'll be honest. It wasn't to be brave.
No.
It wasn't to. I don't know, say, oh, look at me, I've survived. No, absolutely not. There was no ego involved in that. There was no. My brother come with me as moral support because he didn't know what I was going to be like when I got there. And I probably suppose the family's point of view as well. I mean, they've all been fantastic with things like that.
So can we? I know you've mentioned your brother a couple of times. Yeah. I know he's been somebody that's been significant in this journey, not story journey.
Journey, yeah.
Remember. So tell me about your brother then, and tell me about what he experienced and what.
I'll have to say as well that it's not just my brother.
Yes.
It's my whole family. My sister's been incredible.
Absolutely.
My brother's partner, my mum, my daughter when she was. But my brother's been the most significant part of me. He saved my life at the origin. He found me. He saved my life. He never left my side pretty much in intensive care. He would be there to hold my hand. He would be there to help with catheters changes and things. He was phenomenal. Now, obviously, I don't remember this. This is just what's come afterwards, And he was the rock that held the family together in this moment. I mean, when my mum and the family got the news that it wasn't minute by minute that he could have passed away in intensive care. It was then half an hour to half an hour or an hour to an hour, and he let out the biggest cheer in intensive care that I think they've ever heard. It was only when they reflected back and thought, hang on a minute, we're cheering the fact that he could be passed away in an hour, but to them that was great news. And my brother was the gel that literally held everyone together. And I'll always owe him. It's not just the care that he provided to me, and that is the care that he provided afterwards. So I had no memory of bank account details, of my address, of where I lived, my phone numbers, my laptop passwords, my daughter's name, my dad passing away. I had absolutely nothing at all from that. I was really bad. I was in a really bad place. The recovery process, especially in the early days, and my brother's been there throughout everything. And again, we are a very close-knit family. They're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We're a very emotional family, and everyone feels everything for everyone. And he somehow was able to hold that whole unit together. Now, in the past, that's, as the oldest child, that's pretty much what I've done.
Been you, yeah.
It's always been me.
So he picked up that
he
mantle.
picked up the role, yeah. And
I was gonna ask you actually about your brother and say, is that something that was he like that before?
I think it always has been, but because it's always been my role in the family, I think
it's always been your assistant, if you like.
He's never had to, but then all of a sudden it's actually me that's in that place, and he's had to. I wouldn't say step up, because that would be derogatory to say that he could never do it. He's never had to.
Yeah.
When my dad passed away, that I can't remember an awful lot about it. I would have been the one to have sought all the particulars out, which is, again, that's okay. So for him to take on that role and responsibility, and not just for looking after me, but for looking after my mum. You know, her son's just passed away. My sister, my daughter, my daughter's mum, which I'm no longer with, but my daughter's mum was in. She would have needed to know work, for example. He did all of that. Yeah. And so when I say that I owe my brother my life, it wasn't just the fact that he found me on that day, and he was on my guide to ring an ambulance, to perform CPR on the phone. Him and my sister found me. So they both did it, so I can't not say that happened. But there's a picture of me and my brother, and he's just holding my hand, intensive care, which I've got printed out. And at that point, I was in a coma. I had a DBT in my arm, so I had no feeling on my left-hand side. And he slept there, he lived there pretty much. We have a funny story that he actually got kicked out by security. Well, security tried to kick him out of the critical care section, said, "You can't be in here." Well, I've been in here for a week, so move me then. And he wouldn't do it. And he just left him there. Like, no chance of moving him. It's not funny, but we all still laugh about it now. We get through it through humour. I think you get through dark times sometimes.
Yeah, humour's important.
And we are a very sarcastic family, led by me. My late dad was incredible. My daughter's even worse than me now. But yeah, that's how they all got through it at the end of the day. There's some hilarious stories that they've got me at my expense. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but then they've always said that if it was the other way around, touch wood, heaven forbid it ever was, and it was my brother in that situation, I did that, I'd rip the backside out of him all day, every day.
And do you know what? The reason I ask about obviously family and your brother and what you've touched on before is people understanding the impact, isn't it? And understanding the roles that people play in that situation, whether it's to support, whether it's to, give confidence, to, to kind of provide that emotional support or laugh about things, or the family is so important.
The support network I've had
within that.
I know not everyone unfortunately has that. I wouldn't be here without all of them.
No.
I wouldn't be, simple as that.
So it's fair to say that your relationship with your family is, massively strong.
Massive. We've always been very, very close-knit. Yeah. And I know people say that about a lot of family. We always have been extremely tight. I think that brought all of them even closer together. Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they still talk about it now. They still bring up things that they find funny now. At the time, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But at the end, like, I've forgotten how to have a wee, for example. And I was stood in the toilet next to the room in Ward A8. This is when I was being able to move around. I could barely walk, but my brother walked me to the door. I didn't know what to do, and we can smile about it now. At that time, I was in a toilet. I just had that awful C word, that I'd had that taken out,
and that makes everyone.
Yeah. But they even say now, my daughter says it to make me laugh and make me quiver. Now it's horrible. But I didn't know what I was doing, Steve. I didn't know, and
that's another thing that people don't realise, isn't it? It's that idea that you have to literally start from square one.
I didn't know. And you try telling anyone how to go for a wee that has got no idea how to use a toilet. And so where the room was, I had all my family in the room, and where the door was, they could see my reflection through the door. And I think it was my mum or my sister-in-law said, "Lee's in trouble there, Stephen."
Yeah.
So Stephen come round and helped me. He had to pretty much stand with me and tell me, "Well, you do your wee in there, and then you flush it, and it goes away." I didn't know.
Wow.
Now, I would love to have thought that could be something that I would be sarcastic over. It wasn't.
No.
I didn't have a clue. I didn't know. And to this day, I could probably still be stood there now. If he wasn't there with me.
But your brother being your brother has found a way of...
Well, we all joke about it now, because apparently when Stephen went back into the room, it was literally right outside. They were all laughing their head off.
Just told everyone.
Yeah, it's just I've had to pretty much hold him while he's had a wee, and obviously they didn't laugh at it at the time, but afterwards you're like, what's going on here? Yeah. What's going on?
And when you're in the pub sometimes now, do they still go?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, sort of, because I play a lot of pool, I have a lot of really close friends, and when I first went out with them the first time, obviously everyone's gone on. I've forgotten the names. I've forgotten. My brother come with me, and I went to go for a wee, and he's like, "Do you want me to come? Do you want me to come with you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, shut up!" But
brilliant.
But yeah, listen, if it was all the way around, I'd do exactly the same.
Absolutely. No, I think what really comes across is your close relationship, obviously, with your family. So the next part is, talk a little bit about your discharge and what discharge from hospital. So.
See, I've got all queasy again.
Yeah. So there's two parts around that. So obviously you're getting back home and what that was like, but obviously I know that your daughter didn't come to the hospital, did she? And you know, relationship with your daughter, and just talk a little bit about her as well, and I suppose what happened with her, and you know what's happened since in your relationship with your daughter. I think that's a key part of you, isn't it? And
we've always had a really close-knit family, close relationship with me and my daughter. She's my absolute best friend, and I could talk about that there for hours and hours. I come out of hospital. I got sent straight to my mum's because I was under suicide watch, under the crisis management team. So I wasn't allowed on my own, basically, and I couldn't function on my own anyway. I couldn't walk, couldn't anything. So I went back to my mum's house, and I think it was midweek. And I think my daughter come on the weekend, believe a few days afterwards. And when I first met my daughter, I'd lost an awful lot of weight. So I was very, very thin, very fragile. I couldn't walk, but I did walk to Susie. We always been a cuddly family, and she couldn't look me in the face. And I knew we've looked at it now in reflection that she was angry with me. Yeah. You know, her dad, her knight in shining armour, her whatever, had gone from this world. She knew that what had happened. We've never kept anything from her. She's a very, very, obviously girls are very intelligent anyway. Yeah. But she was angry with me.
How old was she then?
She was 10.
10.
She was 10. She's 12 now. And she was 10 at the time. And she didn't know how to be. She didn't know whether to cuddle me. She didn't know this. We spent an awful lot of time going through old photographs on her phone of me and her that we'd done things, Wembley Cup finals, you know, we do a lot of rugby, a lot of football, horse riding. I didn't have a clue. I couldn't remember anything. And she helped me out an awful lot. She was very, very protective at the time, I think, very unsure of how to be, but which understandably so, you know. Yeah. And I think, if anything, our relationship now it's always been strong. It always has been, but now you can't get a piece of paper in between us. You know, she's amazing, and if anything, she still has a thing where she talks a lot to my mum. You know, my mum's, she talks a lot to her, which is absolutely great, and she does have a lot of conversations like, is my dad okay? Is he this? Is he that? You know, because I had a lot of after hospital, I had a lot of heart problems, so I'd just get tired really, really quickly. My heart rate would drop and I'd fall asleep. I've done it before where I've been in a mid-conversation, fell asleep, 15 minutes later, walked back up, carried on the same conversation with my daughter. Yeah. So she could clearly see that I was very unwell. That can't have been easy for her, you know, but she again had the support network of her family, probably her own mum as well. I've been able to go, is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? And I was fine. I was just recovering. To this day now, I mean, she's still got a watchful eye. I think that'll never completely go, but she does understand what's going on. I've never kept anything from her. She knows what I'm doing now. She knows I'm here today, for example. Yeah. She knows how passionate I am about it, and she knows how sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. And I don't think she's worried in her own way. I think she's just more protective over anything. Yeah. I mean,
like you say, it sounds like you've got a very open relationship. She talks to your mum. You talk to her about everything. Nothing's a secret. In those initial phases, what were the feelings of kind of guilt and stuff from you, or?
Oh yeah,
massive amount of guilt. And was that?
I was reliving every possible emotion you could think of. Yeah. Gratitude, being grateful for being alive, grateful that I've survived. Guilt, fear, anger, being unsure, not understanding. I think I might have already said it, but I call it an anchor now I reflect on it. And I was dragging around this anchor all day, every day. This anchor was every emotion you could possibly think of. Sometimes it was guilt, sometimes it was being happy. Everything you could possibly think of was all weighted down by this anchor. Yeah. And I was dragging it along now. Sometimes it wouldn't move, sometimes it was stuck in the mud, sometimes I could walk with it. As time's gone on, and the more reflection, the more learning about it, more education about it, more open talk about it.
And the talking, I think, is...
Talking's massive. You know, I'm certainly not ashamed of taking my own life. I'm not. The lived experience I now have from it, and now I am a miracle to be alive. I am absolutely a miracle. But I'm going to use that as a passion, as a something. Again, that one poor guy that went back in that room, you know, for how many of them one poor guys that go in that room, there is so many more men out there that are going through this exactly the same time. That is the whole point.
Yeah.
If me talking about what I'd been through and being, it's okay to not be okay. If that helps just one person, then it's all worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and you could say that is a bit of a cliche. It's not. You know, it's really, really not. That's how powerful things are.
And that's the thing. I think that's what comes across. I think you know, you're so passionate about this area to use, and this is the most powerful stuff, isn't it? People that have got that lived experience. There won't be many people in your position that have got that lived experience to have died.
No,
literally, and then come back.
I don't.
That's the miracle, isn't it? And
it is. And I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, look at me." No,
it's all about how you can help others, isn't it?
I've survived this.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how, Steve. I have no idea how.
Yeah.
Whether my dad, who's passed over, whether we're me, I don't know. Whether it's me being stubborn, I don't know. It just was not my time.
Yeah.
Okay, and regardless of whether the time was being taken from it, it wasn't. And to this, for the rest of my time that I have, I will always be an advocate of mental health and suicidal ideation. I will always help that one person.
No, I think that really comes across in kind of how you speak and what you say and how reflective you are of your journey. You know, and you're not too hard on yourself either. You know, you're not too.
I think I have been, but it's moved past that.
Yeah.
Like that anchor it's more of a bath plug now.
Yeah.
And I know that I will always carry that bath plug for the rest of my life.
It's a really
that will
good
always
way of
be
putting
there.
That, yeah.
It's the only way I've sort of put it in
part of your journey, isn't it? It's
I think it was a counsellor or the mental health outreach team for Merseycare that helped me. I think they put that into perspective, and it's something I've always carried. That bath plug will always be there.
Yeah.
Some days it'll get stuck behind the door.
Yeah.
Some days it'll get stuck in the plug. Some days I'm running with it. Absolutely fine. I'm carrying it up a mountain, Snowdon, Scarfell. Always going to be there.
Yeah. I think what you were talking about obviously you coming out of hospital and your relationship with your daughter, you know, trying to just build those building blocks up from something, you know, very small. I know from speaking to you that one of the big supports for you was Andy's Man Club, wasn't it, in Warrington?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that helped you? I think lots of people will know what the Andy's Man Clubs are. It's a national thing, isn't it?
UK national.
There's a club in Warrington, isn't there?
Yes, well, there's two now, actually.
Two.
So first of all, before I went to Andy's Man Club, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
Apparently, I had agreed to go with my best friend in the September before I took my life in the October. We'd agreed to go. He's been through an awful lot of things in the past. I have no recollection of this conversation. I have no recollection.
That gives you a little clue, doesn't it, around maybe what was happening,
what was going through. Yeah, absolutely.
There was maybe a need there, maybe
potentially. Yeah. I don't know. And we went in the January, whereas I come out of hospital in December. He took me to the first one in Warrington Town Football Club, where the first one opened in Warrington. When I walked in, there's a roller banner with all the literature, and it says 1 man every 2 hours takes his own life. And immediately as I'd seen that, maybe part of the reflection with the nurse as well, I immediately didn't feel on my own. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, what do you mean 1 man every 2 hours? So I sat there, introduced myself, followed the process of everything with a great facilitating team in there. But what happened is for about 4 or 5 weeks, I had to do that every single week because I'd forgotten what I did the week before.
Yeah.
They knew that, and they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. So all the people that I'd met there already the week before, I didn't have a clue who they were. It was like I was being introduced to them the very first time. And even, so not just the facilitating team, the attendees as well were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And then something just fixed.
Yeah.
And I can remember the week afterwards. And I've been going there ever since.
So that was what, over 2 years ago?
Over 2 years. So January 2024, that opened.
And you go there, so it's just over 2 years, isn't it?
Just
you go there every Monday?
Every Monday. So there's 2 groups in Warrington now. There's a Padgate one.
Yeah.
I lead that group now. So I got asked to be a facilitator, which was probably one of the proudest moments of my life.
Yeah.
Started facilitating in the Warrington group, and then we opened a Padgate group. I moved to that to open it. We now have a great facilitating team in both of the groups in Warrington with over 50, 60 guys every single week.
Brilliant.
It is a suicide prevention charity, but that is the worst that can ever happen. It's a men's peer-to-peer support network. Just an open, judgment-free place to be able to talk. And I say it every week as part of the introduction, there is no place I'd rather be on a Monday.
Yeah.
No place I'd rather be. And that's not because I'm suicidal right now, or my mental health is struggling or anything. I don't go for that. I go to help the other people that are there. And we've just mentioned off air that we have a vast variety of different people that go there. It's just an open, judgment-free space to talk.
It's that focal point every week, isn't it? Where
every
men
Monday.
can go and just, you know.
There's a lot of
probably
sport that
meet
works.
people from all walks of life, won't you? There,
Oh, we do, we do. I can't tell you how it works. I know the structure how it works. I can't tell you what it does. It just.
What's the recipe almost, isn't it?
If I knew that, if we both knew that, we could sell it. And I don't know. It just works.
Yeah.
Talking about it, accepting the fact that it's okay not to be okay, and there is other people out there. I think that, especially for men, I think understanding it's not just you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's everyone else. There's a lot of people going out there.
Because I think, you know, obviously it's been well documented. Men internalise, don't they, their mental health, well-being worries. They don't talk. They're not open. They don't engage. So the fact that these clubs across the country, in Warrington, everywhere, they're growing, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Because people are seeing the benefits.
But we can sit here. We say it all the time as part of a leadership group. We celebrate the fact that we've got 50, 60 guys every week coming just to the Andy's Man Club groups. Yeah. Across Warrington, there's over 200 people every single week, because I actually collate that as part of like the men's mental health groups in Warrington.
Yeah.
That's great. Well done. But that's still 200 men that need support.
Yeah.
So we can sit there and celebrate all day long, but
where are they going after?
Where are they going afterwards? What about the other 1,000 people that aren't going through it? You know, and
well, if you think, I think there's 170,000 people in Warrington that live in Warrington, so probably 50,000 at least of them are men. 200 are accessing. You know, so what?
If you're looking, 1 in 5 of them. 1 in 5 of them are going to have suicidal thoughts. 1 in 8 of them are struggling right now with their mental ill health. And that's just, if you just look at basic maths, that's 12,000 to 15,000 men right now in Warrington that are struggling with mental ill health. That doesn't have to be suicide ideation.
Yeah.
It could be, it might not be,
yeah.
But they're struggling right now.
We talk, I mean, I talk in my role. I mean, I'm not a mental health expert. I've managed mental health in the City of Liverpool College and in other places, but I've managed mental health practitioners. So I'm not a mental health practitioner or by any way an expert, but I talk all the time about people having toolkits. So if you had a mental health toolkit for men, if you like, above a certain age, you'd have Andy's Man Club, and then you'd have a whole range of other areas of support. It might be resources, it might be online counselling, it might be a telephone number, it might be a club that you go to every Monday. But it's important, isn't it, to have those toolkits that you know, you're not going to access just one part of it at any point in your life, are you? People's mental health and well-being fluctuates, doesn't it? Everybody's
not
does.
Not one size fits all.
No,
you know, it doesn't. You can get more out of speaking one-on-one with someone in a group setting, someone on the phone. There is options available to cover all avenues of the spectrum. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone's perfect.
Yeah.
Some people get one thing out of another, they won't get another, and that's the point of having a whole range of processes.
Well, it's having it there and it's knowing it's available, isn't it, and what it does. You know, it's
that's
not
what
about,
I am.
You know,
I am physically trying to help promote that, especially in my area of Warrington.
So what we'll do is then, so just very, very final part of the podcast now. So just to reflect on your own personal situation. So what if you were, you know, if you wanted to give some advice to anybody, you know, that was, I mean, it's hard, isn't it, because you don't know the details of your circumstance, but anybody that's maybe thinking about, you know, they're struggling, they're thinking about maybe, you know, ending things, or, you know, really, really struggling with the mental health and talking about suicide and that kind of thing, what would be your advice that you would give to that person? In
a short few words, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You're not broken. It could be anything. It could be that you've gone through a grieving process. It could be drugs or alcoholic problems. It could be suicide ideation. It's okay that you are not okay. And there is avenues of support out there. Okay. Yes, you have to look for them. You have to reach out yourself and things like that. Yes, there is. You can go through GPs, but there is support out there for you. And there is these people that are willing to listen to you without judgment.
Yeah.
Without, you've gone through that, pull your socks up. No.
Man up. That's the one, isn't
one of the biggest things, man up, you know, especially in men. You know, although a lot of women struggle as well, we can't just say it's just men, it's both walks of life. But for men especially, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to talk. You can survive. It's okay to be vulnerable as well, I would say. Of course, yeah. Because by saying that you're struggling, you're going to be vulnerable. Well, that's okay. You think by opening up, like by me saying right now that I've been through suicide and I've been in that, does that make me any less vulnerable than anyone else that's walked in this room? Yeah. No. And I understand that I've been through this whole range of process to get to this point. I understand that. So someone right now that listens to this could be in that thinking. Pick up the phone, reach out to a friend, reach out to someone, talk to someone. You know, it's okay that you are not okay right now. There is always a door that's going to open. There is no wrong door you can go to for avenues of support. It might not be the right door, but there's another door. And there's people out there like your Andy's Man Club, your Directions for Men, your More Than Men, your Talk Hubs, your Offload. That's just in Warrington, for example.
And what's amazing is there are a number of stories like yours. I don't think many as unique as yours, but stories where people have been at rock bottom. And actually what you're doing now is, and the whole premise of the podcast is people that have experienced significant trauma and, they've gone through really terrible, tough times. But as a result, and what you're doing now is testament to that, is you're trying to help others. And I think that's a real testament to what you've been through, and the fact that even in that hospital bed, you're looking across at that other person and wanting to support and are worried about that person's welfare. I've
never ever thought of that. So thank you for making that point. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But now, judging by what you've just from that one brief sentence that you've said, just pretty much like what that nurse said to me, the first, what the last. I've never thought of it like that way, but that would probably be the catalyst of it all. Yeah. Regardless of me. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't out the neck of the woods at that point. I was just coming down from critical. I was still in an extremely bad place.
But one of your priorities at that time was making sure that person was okay. So it's no surprise to me from your story and what you've told us that you would go on to do things like this. So amazing, what you've done is amazing. I know it's only the start really of your journey and where you want to go. Thanks for the advice that you've given, and we will put some resources in there. So last minute or two then, just tell us about what you want to do, what your plans are for the future. I know that you want to do a podcast, don't you? There's a lot that you want to do, so tell us a bit about that. What you want to do, how people can get involved.
I'm starting a podcast. I am starting. It's been a little bit of a slow burner, unfortunately, due to like work commitments and things like that, but I will be starting a podcast about other people going through their survival, struggling through survival and surviving that silence, basically. I can't wait to get that started. This isn't about me, it's about other people going through circumstances, regardless of what that is. I'm starting an education campaign in regards talking, knowledge and awareness. I think one of the biggest things for me is understanding what it is. So I think if you understand more about what's going on, you become more educated and less ignorant towards what that is. If that's not to yourself, that could be a colleague at work, like you've just said before. It could be anything. I'm trying to start that. I'm basically raising the profile of it being okay not to be okay. Raising the profile of Andy's Man Club, the support in my network, in my community in Warrington, having that break in between, that collaboration between the community, the men that are going through it, the third party sector, the volunteer sector, to the public sector, having that connection between all three is absolutely vital. We all need to be singing on the same hymn sheet, and just raising the profile of it being that there's people like now that are listening right now. If you think we've been here for 2 hours this morning, someone out there in the UK has gone right now. You can't hide from that. That is a fact. Okay. Now, whether that's spoken about or whether that's not, whether that's this or whether people are thinking, oh, well, they're just this. It's lack of knowledge and understanding.
So what is it? How many people a day? Is it 10
it's
to 12 people a day?
It's approximately 14 now.
Per day?
In
the UK?
Yeah, just men.
Wow. Just men?
Just men, in the UK.
Wow.
In the UK, every single day, it's about 1 man every 90 minutes, roughly, approximately. Some days are worse than others.
Wow. But
on average, that is. However, which is scary for me, and one of the reasons why I do what I do is, for all them people that die by suicide, there's a lot of people that are still under the process of the coroner's office to make sure that they get determined as suicide. And for every they can't know exactly, this is just basic numbers, for every one person, one suicide, the percentage of people that are actually going through that right now is astronomical. They can't collate that information. I understand that. But,
so there's that massive need, isn't there, to do more?
And that's just men, Steve. If you one really, really vital statistic is 54% of all suicide attempts are women.
Wow.
Okay, 46% are men. Average just in the UK, regardless of age range, 56%. Although 75% of successful, so I've died by suicide. So I don't really like using the word successful and unsuccessful because it's not good. Fatal suicide attempts, 74%, so 3 times more likely to die by suicide are men.
Wow.
Okay. However, if you look at that on average, that 54% are women. So it's not just men that are struggling.
Yeah.
It's just that men men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide. Now, age ranges, genres, specifics, communities, they all have various aspects of that. However, that is just an average statistic. And I think I mentioned it off air, is coming from my background, being in finance, I'm not a statistic. Where do I sit in that? Because I died by suicide. I died by suicide. Yeah, I've survived of all this type of stuff, but where do I come in that? Where do I come in that? Do I come in as an attempted suicide? Yeah. Do I come as a die by suicide? I'm not a statistic. And all them people, that guy, that poor fella going in back in that room, he's not a number on a spreadsheet. You know, not a number for a local authority or a number of a public office or a number of MPs in the area.
Story, isn't it, behind
it's a journey. It's a story. It's a journey. That one man is a dad. He's a brother. He's a cousin. He's a work colleague. He's a
and that's the other thing, is that ripple, isn't it, of everybody that it affects.
For every one suicide, on average, again, directly affects 135 people.
Wow.
Now, that could be from work colleagues to being public services to everything. Yeah. So if you're just doing basic maths on 135, a 50-50 split, say 65 men, 65 women. So of them 65 men, one in 8 of them are going to have a mental health condition. 1 in 5 of them are going to consider to take their own life by suicide. So just by maths, say that's 15, for example. Might be, quote me if I'm wrong. 15, for example, just men directly affected by one suicide. Yeah. Now, that suicide could be someone at work. It doesn't have to be a public person. Doesn't have to be publicised. Someone that you know are directly affected by that.
It's huge, isn't it? It's huge.
Knock on that a few more. You're into the millions. And that's by one suicide. Now, that's not that one person's suicide's fault. It's not. But that is the ripple effects and the support networks that needs to be out there in place. The post-vention support for a suicide is nowhere near where it needs to be.
Well, I think what comes across is your passion and your understanding and your knowledge of this area.
I still don't know everything, but I'm learning. And
absolutely.
I might be sitting there saying statistics, which I know that are factual. They are, when I'm talking about it, these hit home to me. That when I first walked into Men's Man Club, I seen the same woman every 2 hours. Wow. Oh my gosh, what are you? It's things like that hit out at people. But that is fact. That you have to talk about that.
Absolutely. I think what I'd be interested to do is have you come back on in 6, 12 months time or whatever it is, and tell us about your journey and where you've got to, because I know that there's a lot of things moving for you at the minute, and there's a lot of projects that you want to do in the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And I just wish you all the best. And
thank you so
much. If there's anything that I can do to support, or I think it's important that our young people know a bit more about this as well. Our teenagers, kids that are in school understand a bit more about mental health. Our students in our trust and things like that, and everywhere really. So I am really interested to look at what your journey is going to be and how you're going to develop this area, because I know just from your passion, I know from your experiences, you're going to use this for good. So I'm really interested to see where it's going to lead to in the next 12 months.
I will happily come on wherever you want me to be on. Absolutely. To be fair, I'm going to ask you an invite to come on to mine anyway. Oh, right. So and then also you do owe me a coffee.
I do.
So I'm not going to lie. I will hold you to that.
But thanks again, Lee, and thanks for being so open and so honest and sharing your story, and hopefully people watching this will have got something from, whether it's a family member, whether it's a young person, whether it's another man, whoever it is, would have got something from this. I hope so. Will understand your experience.
There is support out there, Steve. There is support.
Yeah.
You're not on your own.
Yeah.
You're not like that lady. That nurse said to me. She's, again, just reflection, just from speaking with you. That one powerful sentence that she said to me. That's you're not on your own.
Yeah.
You are not on your own. It might feel like you are. You might feel like you're not a burden. You're not on your own. There is support out there. There is people that will listen to you and not judge you. That's a massive thing in regards to judgment. I'm going through this. I shouldn't be this. I'm happy. I've got a big job. I've got this or that. Mental ill health has no boundaries. Yeah. It doesn't care about what's in your bank account. It doesn't care what car you drive. It doesn't care that you go and walk your dog twice a day. It doesn't care how fit you are in the gym. It doesn't care how much you speak, how quiet you are. It doesn't care about you being married with kids. It has no boundaries. It has no boundaries whatsoever.
And the key point of that is it's communication, isn't it? And being vulnerable and opening up. And I think if you sit down with somebody, even a stranger, and you say to them, I'm really struggling, that person, human nature is to try and help you. So, everybody's got a friend or a family member or somebody, or even if it's just picking up the phone and speaking to somebody, try not to be on your own and try to...
One of the most powerful things you can ever say to anyone is, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? And you know, whatever that's coming. Also, so what does a good day look like, Glenn, to you? What's going through? Just asking the open-ended question. Not, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. End of chat. How do you feel? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah.
And letting them, a lot of people that are in that situation, if you give them an open space to talk, all of a sudden, woof, they feel safe and they will talk about it.
Yeah.
Just sit and listen. You don't have to fix everything for them.
And I suppose as family members, as friends and stuff, I think that people would automatically in that situation panic a little bit. But actually, it's about creating that regular open communications and asking those open questions. I think what we'll do as well is, I mean, we could sit here for another 2 hours and talk about this, couldn't we? You know, absolutely no problem. But I think what we'll do is we'll put some resources in the chat once we put the videos up. You know, obviously, you know, people can you know, refer to different processes. They know about Andy's Man Club, they know about other stuff. Google what's out there, Google the support. Think about that toolkit approach to mental health support. Whether it's a family member, a friend, whoever it is, you know, it could be a stranger, a complete stranger, but just reach out and speak to somebody.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank
like
you.
I said, I could happily sit here for another hour, but
we're getting funny looks.
we have to get Roy home, and you know, our brilliant producer.
He's going to need another shave in a minute, that poor fella.
But yeah, thanks again, and hopefully this has kind of put the two podcasts together. And just to our viewers as well, you know, if you are struggling, if you know somebody that's struggling, you know, point them in the direction of this, you know, point them in direction to some resources, have an open conversation, ask those open questions, and you know, do what you can to support. But if you feel it's too much for you to try and support, then there's lots and lots of support out there, such as Andy's Man Club and everything that Lee's been talking about. So thanks to Lee for coming on again, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.